Hi, this is Stephanie. Today we want to discuss what a healed, betrayed spouse looks like. And one of the reasons this topic came up is recently I was having a conversation with a woman who was pretty far down the recovery path when she and her husband had a little bit of an argument and she felt some old reactions and behaviors come up. So as we had that conversation, we wanted to point out to her she had not really backslid. She was just processing the fact that these feelings had come up. And what we highlighted for her was that she actually recovered from those feelings 10 times faster today than she did when she was first in recovery. So we want to point out how important that is. Before I get into identifying what a healed, betrayed spouse looks like, the best way I thought to do that was to describe myself, the hurt Stephanie and the healed Stephanie. As I did that, and as I was outlining this, I came across a definition of the word crisis. And in that research that I had done, I came across a comparison of the Chinese word for crisis actually has a dual meaning. It has a noun portion and a verb portion. So the noun portion identifies the crisis as there is a great problem. We all know if we're on this path of infidelity, we have identified there is a great problem. The verb portion of the definition of crisis is identifying that there is a great opportunity. And this is the part for us as we are healing and we're on this healing journey to transfer from we've identified the great problem and we are journeying to the great opportunity. And even the great opportunity launches us to reconciliation and healing and just a better self, a better marriage, and again, bringing it back to being hurt to being healed. And so what I'm going to do as I go through my examples of hurt Stephanie to healed, I'm going to connect the opportunity, the problem to the opportunity. So initially, on my journey, I was extremely angry. Hurt Stephanie, angry. I was mad at everybody. I was mad at Mickey. I was mad at his AP. I was mad at my in-laws. I was mad at anyone who knew about the affair before I knew about the affair. I have to admit, I was also mad at myself. I was mad at myself for not speaking up sooner, for not pushing harder against Mickey. Healed Stephanie is more peace-filled, right? As the anger subsided and more peace entered into my life, I began to trust a little more. I began to share more. And in turn, I cared less about what others thought about me, about the situation. So as the anger got edged out, peace became part of what healed Stephanie looked like. The next one I know that many of you are going to be able to connect with is hurt Stephanie was suspicious, anxious. Mickey's time and where he spent his time was under a microscope for me early on. I was in a constant state of anxiety. I could not be present for my kids, for myself, for my marriage, for my friendships. Healed Stephanie was gracious. As I extended grace first to myself, slowly to Mickey, who I have mentioned in previous interviews, once he invested into his recovery, it eased my heart, my anxious, suspicious heart. And as he showed up more for me, I was able to show up more for myself and those around me. So hurt Stephanie was anxious and suspicious, but healed Stephanie was gracious. Another one that, for me, I think had the potential to stop me in my tracks, hurt Stephanie was afraid and fearful. Living against an uncertain truth, believing in your feelings, which at this point are mostly unstable, inconsistent, unbalanced. You may potentially play out scenarios in your head. I did this very often, and I always thought it would make me feel better. Was constantly playing out scenarios that may or may not happen, but it took up a lot of my time and locked me in fear. So clarifying the difference between having a plan and living in fear is something that I had to do for myself because I did not like being afraid of everything. Be afraid to pick up the phone, be afraid to do anything normal. So what shifted for me, the healed Stephanie, was I focused on the truth. playing out those worst case scenarios battered me down, I realized that I needed to focus on what was in front of me, the facts and the truth. The more I slowed my mind down and handled myself a day at a time, and I will say early on it was an hour at a time, this process brought much needed stability to my brain, to my day. It required daily quiet time, and God always showed up. It made me a more present mother, a more present friend, wife, and person. So again, hurt Stephanie, afraid and fearful. Healed Stephanie was truth-focused. So the next one, hurt Stephanie, is identified as controlling, right? Initially, control felt very soothing to me. If I can talk about this and outline every detail with my husband and control every day, everything, every moment, then my life won't be out of control, right? Or at least I won't be blindsided or be made a fool of. So for me, control was a soothing place initially, and I sat in that for a while. Now, the misconception of control is it's a waste of time, because the reality is we cannot control our spouse, their actions, what they're doing. We can only control ourselves, our actions, and our reactions, right? So hurt Stephanie's controlling, but healed Stephanie is faith-filled. And I talked earlier about grace and that extension of grace to myself and then to Mickey. Well, this did require a great deal of faith. I have to admit, I talked about God time, relying on God, relying on the truth and the facts, helped me be faithful in taking those steps. I had to trust what God wanted for me, for my kids, for Mickey. I needed to even trust what God wanted for Mickey's AP. So I knew I could only invest into certain things: myself, my husband, our marriage, and our children. As I focused on myself, my healing, my journey, my future, I didn't focus on how I could control it, but how I was growing and who I was becoming. This was a huge part of my transition to being healed. So controlling Stephanie was hurt Stephanie, and faith-filled Stephanie was a healed Stephanie. So this last trait that I'd like to address is hurt Stephanie was broken. This feeling of brokenness was not something that I was used to. Up to finding out about the affair, I felt pretty confident, felt pretty whole about who I was and where I was going. So this brokenness, I did not like. I felt strapped to something that I couldn't get away from. I felt useless, unable, fatigued all the time. My own body was a place I did not want to be. I did not know how to get away from that. And when you are living in a space where you feel an alien in your own body, that is not healthy. So hurt Stephanie was a broken Stephanie. Now healed Stephanie is healed, right? So time, forgiveness, patience to self first. I've invested a lot into myself and my family. I have done a lot of therapy and work. And at first it was because it was all I could do. It was all that was in front of me. Doing the work kind of pulled me forward. Then I started to do the work because I wanted to do the work. And now I only do the work when I need to do the work. And that's important for me to say to you because I think a lot of people feel, am I going to be in therapy for the rest of my life? Maybe. Maybe yes, maybe no, right? But for me, I've shifted to the want, to the need, and I am in control of that because I am healed. I am stronger, I am more confident, I'm more realistic, I'm smarter. I'm just simply more. And I embrace who I am and where God is leading me. And I may occasionally fight that, but the hugeness of what has happened in my marriage and in my life does not control who I am. It's an accepted reality that happened. And I want to encourage you guys to know that once this healing happens, you will feel it, you will know it. And it's really a prayer that I have for each and every one of you to be able to identify the hurt you and the healed you. And I want to encourage you to embrace what was shared today and look at yourself and give yourself that opportunity to take your time to allow yourself to once again be present for you and for your family.